Welcome to Hood War Stories. In this episode, I'll be discussing Ruben Gomez. Ruben Gomez was born on March 6, 1970 in Los Angeles, California. Ruben is from the Eastside Wilmas gang. They're located in Wilmington, California, bordered east of Babylon, stretching from PCH to Anaheim Street. In January of 1997, after being released from the state's toughest prison, Ruben, who had ties to the Mexican mafia, went on a slaying spree. In February of 1997, Ruben went to Xavier's home to tell him he was out of jail and needed some money. Ruben and Xavier knew each other from growing up. Xavier told Ruben that he didn't have any extra cash. 2 weeks later, on February 25th, around 11 p.m., Ruben returned to Xavier's home, but this time with two other men. Xavier, his girlfriend Sylvia, and their children were home. Xavier had about $10,000 in cash in his bedroom closet. Xavier heard someone knock on the back door, and he told him to come around to the front. When Xavier opened the door, Ruben and the second man rushed their way into the house, while the third man remained standing in the open doorway. Ruben told Xavier, "I want to talk to you. Sit the fuck down." Ruben then sat on the couch next to Xavier, and the second man stood facing them about 4 feet away. Ruben's two men held their hands in their pockets, giving Xavier the impression that they had guns. Ruben had a gun tucked in his waistband. Ruben said that Xavier had disrespected him when he came to his home 2 weeks earlier to ask for money. Ruben pulled the gun from his waistband, then pointed it at Xavier and told Xavier to take off his jewelry. Xavier handed over his gold bracelet, necklace, ring, and watch. Ruben told Xavier to close the bedroom so they could talk. Xavier went to close the door and told Sylvia, who was in the bedroom, that he was being robbed. Sylvia dialed 911 from the bedroom. Xavier went back to the living room, where Ruben told him to sit down and shut up. Ruben pointed the gun at Xavier and asked him where the money at and told him to go get it. Xavier went to his bedroom, grabbed about $5,000, then handed a gun to Sylvia and told her, "If they come in here, protect yourself." Xavier returned to the hallway and gave Ruben the money, and the two went back into the living room. Xavier pleaded with Ruben to give back his jewelry because it had been a gift from his parents. Ruben gave back the jewelry, and the three men left with the cash. Xavier locked the door, turned off the lights, and went back into the bedroom, where Sylvia was still on the phone with the 911 operator. Xavier told Sylvia, "Grab the kids, let's go." But the three men returned before Xavier and his family could leave. The men demanded that Xavier open the door, or they would shoot through the walls. Sylvia dialed 911 a second time from the bedroom. The police arrived, and Ruben and the others ran off around the back. In the early morning of May 27th, 1997, a body was found on the Terminal Island Freeway on-ramp between Anaheim and PCH. The victim had been shot and stabbed numerous times. 2 days later, after recovering a missing persons flyer on a telephone pole in Torrance, authorities were able to identify the victim as Rajendra. A county medical examiner said that Rajendra was shot once in the back of the head at close range, with the tip of the gun barrel making contact with his head. Rajendra was last seen on May 25th, 1997, around 9 p.m. at his home. The victim's son said his father left home in his white Toyota Camry, wearing a bracelet, gold watch, and a chain. On May 28th, an officer discovered Rajendra's car in the alley in San Pedro. The interior was found burned. Ruben had asked a friend to burn the car. The friend complied because they were tight. Ruben told him to check the trunk good to make sure there was no blood in it. Ruben's friend also testified that 4 days before Ruben asked him to burn the car, Ruben said that he hated to kill that guy because he had balls. Rajendra apparently told Ruben, "If you're gonna do it, go ahead and shoot me, motherfucker." Ruben would later put a hit out on his friend for not burning the white car completely. Ruben was worried about his fingerprints. A third witness testified that Ruben brought Rajendra's jewelry to her home in Wilmington, where her husband traded narcotics for the jewelry. During the transaction, Ruben told her that the jewelry was from a Mexican man he had in the trunk of a car that he just killed. She then observed that a white car was parked in the driveway while Ruben was at her home. She later pawned the watch and bracelet in Las Vegas. On June 9th, 1997, a body of a male Hispanic was found lying face down behind a shopping center. The body had been discovered by a maintenance worker earlier that morning. The maintenance worker testified that there wasn't a body when he arrived for a shift at 5:30 a.m., but that he discovered the body when he returned to the area between 7:30 and 8 a.m. No jewelry was found on the victim's body, but there were indentations on the victim's fingers where he had been wearing rings. One of the victim's pockets were turned out. The police discovered a business card for the restaurant Los Tres Cochinitos in the victim's right pocket. Workers at Los Tres Cochinitos examined a photograph of the victim and identified him as a regular customer who bussed tables at another restaurant. Upon visiting the victim's workplace, authorities were able to identify the victim as Jesus. 2 days after Jesus' body was discovered, his car was found in San Pedro. He had suffered a gunshot wound to the head. On June 10th, 1997, around 1:25 a.m., the body of Raul was found at a residence in Torrance. The body was laying adjacent to a walkway that runs from the sidewalk to the front porch. Raul had a gunshot wound on the left rear portion of his head, but no other wounds. Officers also located a clear plastic baggie with a kind of white substance near Raul's knee, which was later identified as methamphetamine. Upon searching the residence, officers discovered more methamphetamine, an assault rifle, money, and more ammunition. Raul's father later testified that Raul sold illegal drugs. Raul's brother Rudy testified that around midnight, he was laying in bed when he heard a loud muffle outside the residence. A minute after, he heard someone say, "There's somebody in there." After a couple minutes, Rudy heard the same voice say, "He's here." He then heard his brother Raul say, "Oh shit." Rudy next heard a gunshot and immediately dropped on his bedroom floor. Eventually, Rudy walked to his kitchen window, which faces the front of the house. He walked outside to find Raul lying flat on his back, bleeding from the head. Around 3:48 a.m. on July 1st, 1997, officers responded to a 911 call regarding a possible assault with a deadly weapon on O'Farrell Street in San Pedro. After knocking on the front door and receiving no response, and after trying unsuccessfully to open the door, the officers accessed the home through a back door and discovered dead bodies inside. They found the body of Robert Acust on the living room floor and the body of Robert Dunton on the living room sofa. Acust had been shot by a single shotgun wound to the neck. Dunton had been killed by a shotgun wound to the back of the head, although he received 3 gunshots in total. Manuel, who lived in the residence immediately to the west of Dunton's home, told authorities he heard what sounded like 3 gunshots at about 3:15 a.m. When he peeked out the window, Manuel saw that Dunton's home was dark, and that one man came out of a back door and ran down a walkway. The man was about 5'6" in height. Manuel then heard a car start nearby. He subsequently noticed someone turn on the lights in the Dunton residence and say, "Oh my gosh," before leaving the house through the back door. A witness testified that he was present in the home when Acosta and Dunton was shot, and that he was the person who placed the 911 call. He had known Acosta and Dunton since approximately 1975. For several months prior to the killings, he lived with Dunton at his residence. He paid Dunton some rent and helped him by working the door and let people into the house to buy drugs. Dunton weighed about 500 pounds and had difficulty getting up from the couch to answer the door. Before the killings, Ruben would routinely purchase drugs from Dunton and they became friends. Ruben began napping and showering at Dunton's house within a week or 2 of his first visit. The witness heard Dunton say, "If I gotta go, I'm going like a man." Ruben said, "You know the rules, forward and backward." Thereafter, the witness heard about 4 gunshots, running footsteps, and a bump against the washing machine near the back door. On July 2nd, 1997, for the first time in about 8 years, Ruben went to his cousin's house. Sometime in the late afternoon, Ruben knocked on the door to her home in Long Beach and said that he needed a place to stay. He was carrying a bag and a shotgun that he had cut down. Ruben's cousin subsequently left Ruben in her house and walked to her friend's house, where she eventually called the police. At around 3 a.m., Ruben was arrested at his cousin's house without incident. Authorities say that Ruben appeared to be out of control. He killed 6 people in 5 months, 5 of those in 36 days. Ruben was also linked to 11 more robberies and 3 additional murders that were never proven, including the shooting of a 6-year-old boy coming out of the store, allegedly over $5. Ruben was ultimately convicted on 4 counts of first-degree murder, 2 counts of second-degree robbery, and 1 count of kidnapping. He was sentenced to death. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.